Hi everyone. In this video, we will see how to use Classwork Manager module in Schoolyst. Classwork Manager module allows teachers to keep track of students' progress throughout the year um, by entering their grades for their assignments or quizzes or projects or homework. When you log into Schoolyst, you will see a Classwork Manager tile. If you click on it, here's where you can see all the tasks that you have created. But before we go into the tasks, let's take a look at the gradebook settings. These are the gradebook settings which will be configured by school administrators. So over here, you can see that we have a way to map the final percentages to the letter grade. So for example, in this example, we've set that 90% and up is going to be considered as an A, and then 80%, 80 to 90 will be considered as B, and 70 to 80 will be C, and so on. Obviously, you can add as many letter grades as you want, and you can also add different task types that you would want. If we go to category weights, here's where we can configure the weights of different categories. So for example, in this instance, we said that for grade 1 to 4, we will allocate 30% to quizzes, 20% to assignments, and 50% to projects. To create a new task, we will simply go to Create Classwork. There's a button on top right. Click on that button, and over here you can enter the details of the task that you are about to create. Let's say we're creating it for quiz 4, and this quiz is going to cover chapter number 5 and chapter number 6, for instance. Then I will choose the grade that this quiz is for, and section. If your school has sections enabled, I will choose a section. And again, this classwork type. Now it's important to choose the correct type over here because, as I mentioned, this will determine how much of the weightage of this task will be included in the final mark. So we'll choose quiz as the type, and we're going to create it for French, and strand will be oral communication that this quiz is going to cover. The due date can be the date of the quiz. So let's say it's 12th of December. Now weightage. Weightage is an optional field, and you will only use it if you want to assign a higher or a lower weightage to this specific quiz. If we don't assign any weightage, then this quiz, as it says over here, will basically carry the same weight as all the other quizzes. So let's say we want this quiz to have the same weight as other quizzes, so we won't specify any weightage over here. Now max score, obviously we will put the score that we will be grading this quiz out of. For example, let's say we want to grade this quiz out of 20, so I will put 20 as max score. If I leave this max score field empty, um, then schools will assume that max score is 100, and the teacher will basically be putting in the percentage mark for this quiz. Let's say in this instance, we want to mark this quiz out of 20. For academic year, obviously we should choose the right year and the term. Attachments, you can upload the attachments, let's say a Word document or a PDF outlining what the quiz questions would be. And once you've done that, if I hit Save Task, now I can see I've created quiz 4 over here. And the description is there, the due date, the subject, the strand, grade, and section. So here's a list of all the tasks that I've created. I've created quiz 1, 2, 3, 4. I have an assignment and a final project. Now to grade a quiz, I can click on grade and I can enter the grades. So let's say I enter grades for these students and I hit save. Now when I go to the gradebook view, I'll be able to see the grades that I just entered. Let's go to Gradebook to see how the Gradebook appears. Now in Gradebook, At the top, we can see the filters that we want to see the gradebook for. We want to see the gradebook, let's say for grade 1, um, section A, subject French, and we want to see it for oral communication. Now over here, we are seeing the grades for all the quizzes and the final calculated weighted average and the converted letter grade. Now, once again, this letter grade mapping is coming from gradebook settings, as I mentioned earlier, and your school administrators have access to configure the conversion of this weighted average to letter grade. Let's quickly go through what this gradebook is showing. First of all, it's showing us a summary of the class statistics. It's showing us that the lowest grade is 76%, highest is 91, and one student got a C, one student got an A, and one student got a B. Now, if we look at individual quizzes, we can see the max score for each quiz, and we can see the weightage of each quiz and assignment and the final project. Now, Gradebook does also allow to edit anything that we want to edit over here. For example, we can say that the max score for this actually was not 20, it was actually 30. So we can update it right here, and everything will update. Everything will be updated accordingly. Let's say, let me put it back to 20. Let's say we accidentally put a wrong mark for this student. We want to update the mark. We can update the mark right here, and his final mark will be calculated again after the mark is updated. So everything is calculated accordingly, depending on what the grades for the student are in each category. Below the student list, we can see the gradebook legend. This legend shows us an overview of how the final mark is calculated. So for example, over here, we can see that 20% of the mark is from assignments, 30% is from quizzes, and 50% is from projects. And it also shows us the mapping of the letter grades uh, from the weighted average. So if anything here looks wrong, you can reach out to your school administrators and they should be able to configure it correctly for your grade. All right, that's it for Classwork Manager. Thanks for watching.